Hi, I'm Robert Kiyosaki. It's a forward by Robert Kiyosaki here. And this is Ryan Lee. It's my friend Robert Allen here. But retire in 10 years or less. For many of my generation, a boomer generation, they're out of time, they're out of money, and inflation's about to take off. So Ryan, what do you have to say about this book?
You know what? First and foremost, I got to give you just all the gratitude in the world. The fact that I'm here talking to you about this concept, you've radically changed my life.
Thank you.
I've had the opportunity over the last decade to help thousands of people with their money. And every single time I bring it back to the financial game, I bring it back to your concepts. Because I think what you have the unique ability at doing is taking a complex subject, simplify. Savers are losers. I'll never forget when I read that the first time, I about cried myself to sleep because everything I knew about money, it just came shattering down. And so I think the first thing I want to ask you is, you've always been a contrarian. And being a contrarian, that might get some clicks online, but man, that can be a dangerous way to live your life. Like there's a lot of people throwing rocks at you. How have you stayed courageous and bold in this world when you've been such a contrarian when it comes to money, politics, economies? Like how have you maintained the courage to do that?
I think the way I save my butt out there is I always align with people in the same stream. I didn't get nailed with Rich Dad, Poor Dad because I put in the asset column network marketing. And what happened is like guys like Amway and all that, they took my book and made it a Bible. So the people that were attacking me, I had a whole army of network marketing saying, read this book, read this book. So you always want to go with the people who are on your same flow.
Yeah, I love that. Let me ask you one question because I've always been dying to understand this. Savers are losers. I now understood it. I now understand it. Even when I read it, it felt almost first like an assault on my personal beliefs, right? And so I had to really go deeper than this statement to fully understand it. Where did you first learn in your life that savers are losers?
That was 1965. I held up a coin. It was $50. It was no longer silver. It was copper. And there's two big laws that are in place today. That's Gresham's law.
Yeah.
Gresham's law says when fake money enters the system, good money goes into hiding. So that's why we're here for now for the New Orleans Investment Festival. I own gold, silver, Bitcoin, Ethereum. So this fake money sends everybody into gold and silver. The second is Metcalfe's law. Metcalfe's law says a network is more valuable than one. So like you have a chicken shop, Bobby's Chicken Shop is not as good as Colonel Sanders.
That's true.
So there's two laws that I follow is Gresham's law. I always want to stay with real money. And Metcalfe's law, the reason I like Bitcoin and Ethereum is their systems.
I love that. I love the system, and I agree with that 100%. In fact, that's what we wrote into this book is a system, a financial system to help take your complex ideas and put them into a framework that people can operate by. So 2 more questions for you, Robert, because you've just been such a tremendous mentor for me. I think one of the biggest things after I got over the hurdle that savers are losers, I started looking at the game of finance, of investing through the tax lens. You took the tax code and you also simplified that in such a way to understand that every investment, unless you have a tax strategy, you might think you're in a 7-8% of the stock market. You're not, right? When you understand taxes. How did you overlap taxes with investing and put it together in a framework for you?
Well, that's another principle of getting rich. In school, they tell you don't make mistakes.
Yeah.
Well, how in the world do you learn if you don't make mistakes?
Yeah.
That's why teachers are poor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A baby cannot walk if it didn't fall down. The second thing is if you cooperate, that's cheating. Do you understand? And so I went to military school, and the first thing we were taught, what's your mission? And then we were taught to be leaders and how to put a team together. So the smartest guys on earth have the best teams. The biggest losers are doing it on themselves.
On their own.
So the biggest losers out there, they go to school, they get a job, or they're a doctor, let's say, a smart guy, they pay the highest taxes, and they have a financial planner. Like Kenny is part of my team.
Yeah.
I have tax accountants, tax attorneys, da-da-da-da-da. Business and life are team sports, and it's the quality of your team. But in school, it's called cheating.
I love that. You know, that has been a lesson that you've reinforced for me as well. As soon as I started working smarter, not harder, everything changed.
Yeah.
So the last question I have for you then,
Your team helps a lot.
they make all the difference.
They got to be smarter than you.
They're way smarter than you. I'm so grateful for smart people because I get to go talk to them and just bask in their knowledge. And then I don't need to be as smart as them. I just need to surround myself with them and know what winning looks like.
Smarter than me. I'm happy.
That's it.
If I hired me, I'd be in trouble.
So here's the last question for you. You know, we work with people that they've followed the system, much like I have. They followed the system for years and years. They've worked hard. They've accumulated a little bit of a nest egg, but they're starting to pick their head up and realizing it's never going to be enough, right? And so now
this book.
That's this book, yeah. And so the goal is I wanted to shatter people's mindset. It's not retire when you're 40 after 40 years. You can do it in 10 years or less, but you can't use a broken system better. You have to do the exact opposite. So if you were going back in time, go take us all the way back, right? You're just getting home from Vietnam. Let's say you have all the knowledge that you have today and all the connections that you have today, but you have 10 years to build it all back, build your wealth, and become financially free. If you had to start from just knowledge and connections, how would you do it today?
This is no bullshit. It's your guy here, Robert Allen.
Yeah.
I read his book. You got to read the smart guys.
Yeah.
So Robert Allen, I read this book and I went, got it.
Got it.
And I said, I'm going to follow this path. There's many paths to heaven, but there's more paths to hell. Well, you got to find the path that works for you. Like, I love real estate. I absolutely love real estate. I was talking to this guy, he repairs old buildings and, repurposes them. Would love to do that. In fact, I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I bought an old stagecoach depot in Bisbee, Arizona, just because it was old and was made of stone and rock, river rock. So while I was rehabbing the stone house, I was sitting at night writing a book, and I was sitting there just in the desert of Arizona. I had a rich dad and I had a poor dad. So sitting in this old rock house I loved, an old stagecoach depot from 1850, I found the inspiration, Roy.
I love that.
Poor dad.
I never knew that story.
Yeah.
I thought I'd know most of your stories. I've never heard that one before, where the inspiration came from. Well, then, last thing for you, how can a guy like me help perpetuate and carry your legacy on? Because I truly feel like I'm sitting here. My financial life is radically altered and different because you sat in that old stone building and wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah. And honestly, that book opened me up, but it was probably your book, Fake, and Why the Rich Are Getting Richer. Those two books, man, I'm telling you, those books, they changed it.
What I'm asking everybody to do today is play the cash flow game. Before Rich Dad, Poor Dad was a cash flow board game. And where the board game came from, the Wall Street Journal called it monopoly on steroids. What the cash flow board game did was add a financial statement to monopoly.
Yeah.
The financial statement is what your banker wants to see. As I say, my bankers never asked me for my report card. My bankers never asked me for my GPA. Banker wants to see my financial statement. And 90% of college graduates have no idea what a financial statement is.
Yeah.
That's how bad our education system is. So the cash flow board game will teach you accounting while having fun. Well, it really came from Maria Montessori. The Montessori school system. She's one of the best, educational entrepreneurs in the world. Well, Maria Montessori said, what the hand does, the mind remembers. So when you're playing cash flow, you're actually learning to be an accountant. The single most boring subject on planet Earth. Because I sat through my MBA program sound asleep in accounting class. So when you're playing cash flow, my board game, it's a hard game, but you're actually running your numbers. You're learning to do a financial statement, learning how cash is flowing, and the control of your money is through cash flow.
And what gets tracked gets improved.
Yeah, so what your hand does. So I travel the world playing cash flow, and people's lives change again.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Robert, thank you so much. I just want to say it publicly and personally, thank you so much.
Thanks for being a fellow teacher.
Likewise.
Thank you.